live with the proper title embedded.
This time I'm getting an ad.
Yeah, you will. I can't stop the going live ad. I mean, you could if you wanted to buy a sub, but that'd be kind of fucked up.
I already paid to be on this podcast once. I'm not paying monthly.
Technically speaking, you paid to be on the Mother Show.
Okay,
Whatever
I
you
already
call...
paid to be on a podcast in this media group once. I'm not paying monthly, especially since that I would probably need to subscribe to one of Mac's channels too.
I mean, you work here, so
I wish there was a way to give moderators Twitch subs at basically Twitch cost. Like, we make nothing.
Right.
It's just Twitch's cut that gets paid.
Right.
But I trust everything is back to functional.
Yep.
Wait, why isn't the things bouncing? Okay, that's working. Add say something again.
Something.
Alright. Now it wants to work. That's good. I didn't know if I was going to have to kill OBS and restart it. That would have been fun. But yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Okay then.
Alright, go X, you 7 for the top.
Sure.
Alright. Countdown when ready.
We could begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a Fragments of Silicon special bulletin. There are Pikmin everywhere. Look around you.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me as always are Golix and Petty. Right, let's get to not just the news, but specifically, Petty fan, there are things going on with your eye again that may impact the show. Probably will impact the show.
So, as I mentioned last week, we were doing a lot of cleaning around the house, and I guess I got dust in my right eye that I had been having problems with on and off again for like the past couple years. It's hurting again, and like I can barely see out of my right eye.
Do you have like an eye patch or something?
I had one, but I threw it away because I didn't think I was going to need it.
Like, you're cursing past you right now, aren't you?
Yeah, no. Well, and also I got another one. The problem is it doesn't really help because I don't have the drops to help numb it. So
I see.
And unfortunately, those aren't something I can get over the counter. I need a doctor to prescribe those. And I can't. The earliest slot the doctor has available to see me is next Friday afternoon. So I'm going to be here basically writhing in pain. And I still need to find some way to be able to help paint, because we still have shit to do around the house, so we can not be evicted.
Right.
We got
That
three
quite the
truckloads of
conundrum.
garbage to the dump. And we also have the boards basically like realigned for the porch. We have the top of the porch steps and the top part painted. We were going to try and paint some more of the like outer part, but then the rains rolled in. And it's kind of hard to paint when it's raining.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's supposed to stop raining by this weekend. So hopefully it's not too humid to try and paint. Because that's another problem, especially with some outdoor paints.
Mm.
But yeah. All in all, this has sucked a lot. Like, I thought my eye was healed by now, because I haven't had an issue, and I haven't seen the doctor about it in over a year. So,
It
one
could
would...
have been re-irritated.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely could have gotten something else in it if you're doing a lot of housework.
Yeah, because, like, the biggest thing that I did was with the leaf blower, blew stuff off the porch, but the porch is open, so I don't know what the hell.
Isn't that how that happened the first time round?
The first time I got directly blasted in the face with the leaf blower. The second time, this time I was pointing a leaf blower away from me.
Uh-huh.
So it really sucks, because I kind of need to be able to see to help with housework, because our parents haven't done squat, which is really pissing both my sister and I off. Because they keep wanting to point fingers at each other, and it's like, we all need to get this done.
How have your parents not thrown divorce papers at each other yet?
They can't afford a divorce. It's literally that. They're both in too much, be it student loan or credit card debt. They couldn't afford to get divorced.
I see.
So it's... Unfortunately, they're going to make their two disabled twins basically clean and repair the house for them. Which is real fucked up.
Yes, it is.
We also did talk to our new insurance agent. That's another whole kerfuffle. The guy who was our insurance agent his contract was not renewed, and Farmers didn't tell us. So we'd been without an agent for like 3 months. So we're talking to this new guy who we're gonna get to be, already signed the papers for them to be our agent, and they're like explaining what's been going on, and they're like, yeah, no, that's not right. Especially because I don't know if either of you have had insurance work done on your domicile. How they're supposed to kind of inspect and sign off on workmanship. Somebody signed off on getting our roof done, including with the way the vents are now. And the vents are one of the reasons why they're basically canceling our insurance, because the vents are not up to code. They were installed incorrectly, but we have no roof access, so fell to them to let us know this 16 years ago when we got the roof put on, and they said it was good. So He should know a little more about what's going on by the end of next week for all the paperwork to be finalized and stuff. So that's best case. He can get us some sort of extension for the work we need to do. Okay, no, that's better case. Best case is he can get them to push through replacing the roof on Farmer's Dime. But I have no idea. Because that's the big thing we're waiting on. If we need to pay for the roof replacement, which would involve taking out loans and all that, or if Farmers is going to do it and we can take out smaller loans for some of the smaller projects, like repairing the steps, if we need to actually replace some boards on the porch if they're not going to hold right after we screwed stuff together again. Stuff like that. But, replacing a roof is going to be, 15, 20 grand on its own. Just, I don't think these last, 3 weeks could get any worse.
And yet, things keep finding a way, right?
Yeah. I was not expecting to be, nigh blind was not on the bingo card. But yeah, I guess that's it from me. Obviously not a whole lot of video game stuff because I can barely see.
Right. I suppose on that note, as far as how that relates to the program, it's just kind of have to be on a case by case basis until Petty sees the eye doctor.
Yeah, I need to look into what my game is this week and to see if I can, play it without wanting to take a butter knife and ram it through my eye.
I mean, it should be fine. Like, your game is Build a Bridge.
Fair.
Like, that doesn't require a lot of hand-eye coordination.
Well, it's not as much hand-eye coordination as, flashing and bright colors and bright lights are what's really the problem. I can play games sans depth perception because my depth perception wasn't really all that great to begin with. It's the flashing lights that cause the searing pain.
I guess you'll find out in due time.
Yeah, I will try and get to some of that. I need to see the dentist again tomorrow because they filled in one of my back teeth, but when they were drilling, the dentist slipped. And luckily the tooth next to it was next in line. But instead of waiting to do that, next week, they wanted me to come in today. And I was like, yeah, no, I can't. If I miss another day of, trying to help the sister with cleaning, my keys won't work at best. At worst, the key is going to be in my jugular. So that's partly why, that is why MSP is going to have to end early tonight. Because I need to sleep. But yeah, that's it for me. Sorry this took so long. A lot of shit happened.
Hey, Alex.
My week has been less eventful, thankfully. I got my car inspected, and unfortunately, it needed to have both of the rear bearings replaced, I guess, which ended up being like $1,000.
Isn't that what happened to Mac's car?
No, his wheels fucking fell off.
And I thought it was because of bearing failure.
Well, my bearings didn't fail. They just weren't up to inspection. There's a significant gap there.
Fair. Okay, if you would have done nothing about it, you could have had a Mac issue.
Potentially in a few years, probably, yes.
Mm.
If a car is actually physically falling apart, that's way past, failing inspection.
Right.
You can fail inspection if you have rust that goes through in a few fairly small places, as long as you could get exhaust going into the passenger compartment,
Yeah.
at least in Maine, because
Well, and
unlike in
also
some
Max
states,
putting a lot more miles on his vehicle than you are on yours.
right, I'm a pretty light driver, and also Mac lives in a state where they don't anticipate cars having any actual environmental hazards, really. So I doubt they have very strenuous regular inspections. Whereas in Maine, we have road salt season that takes up like a third of the year.
Right.
And that shit will eat right the fuck through your undercarriage.
As a Missouri person in Missouri, I can tell you, yes, that is very much a thing.
So we have full inspections yearly. Um, anyway, it got done, but it cost a lot more than I expected. On the plus side, they did also tighten down my heat shield, which was apparently what was causing some rattling I noticed, and didn't even particularly charge extra for that, so that was nice. I have been playing Super Robot Wars Y on my own time. I still haven't gotten that far, and I'm kind of paranoid about it because there are a lot of secrets fairly early on that require certain score counts on your guys, and the score counts that characters join with are based on like an average out of a number of the top most of the guys you have. So I've been trying to get people's scores up, so that I can, get those secrets when they come around. Um, but it goes against my nature because I usually try to keep people fairly even instead of having like a couple of people super high. But I might have to do that. We'll see. Last Friday, me, Petty, and Ogre continued playing Time
Time Stranger.
Stranger. That's been going pretty well.
I guess that
We, fi- we
continuing
finally we
next
fi-
week if my eye is, you know.
yeah, we finally got to the point where we can fucking have champion level partners, which is
Yeah.
nice because I don't mind if a Digimon thing holds off giving you access to ultimate levels for like half the game and mega levels for like 3/4 of the game,
Yeah.
even though I don't actually expect that. But you're really limited if you can't have champions yet.
Yeah. Especially because you can use the champions to bridge over to different eggs.
Right. So that was good. We have to have some negotiations about what we're going to try to have on our team besides the Lunamon that Petty Fan is.
Yeah, Lunamon is a
Uh,
must.
mhm. I did learn that apparently in this game, when you un-DNA digivolve something, apparently you don't lose one of the components, so that's
That's
good.
good.
That was a huge pain in Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory.
Right.
Every time you want to make a Piledramon, you have to like just get a spare XVmon or DynoVmon scan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that and yesterday, because one of my usual Tuesday things was off, I watched in on Petty and Mac playing Final Fantasy 14 for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about all I got.
Okay. I guess it's my go. Well, got a haircut this week. One last.
Oh man.
It's been a fairly quiet week. All
Yeah.
things
I need to see about getting a haircut before winter rolls in, but obviously we have more pressing matters happening.
Petty, your life is nothing but a series of pressing matters.
No shit.
Like, um, I guess in terms of gaming stuff, I've been put down Dragon Age Inquisition to play some spooky games. Played some Resident Evil 7. I know there are people who like that game, but it's like I felt like I was playing Amnesia with a Resident Evil filter wrapped around it.
Mm.
It was way too. It's like this is too indie horror for my taste. Also, there are some things in that game I was not able to intuit. Like, how was I supposed to? I was expected to know that I was going to be blocking a chainsaw with a pistol. That's wacky adventure game logic, Capcom.
You mean you don't do that
Like,
on a daily basis in Florida?
like, thankfully, I don't have to. Like, I'm just saying that is an actual thing that happens in the game fairly early on.
In
And
7 is
I
Florida Man the game, right?
Louisiana.
Oh, right. I mean,
It's
six
a
and one
different
half dozen in the other.
a lot more Cajun accents.
Fair.
Like Louisiana is its own distinct brand of crazy.
Says the Floridian.
Yes. Anyway, right now I'm trying out Contrast and Dread Templar. Like, there's also the games for review. I have yet to play one of them, but that's also because it's one of these games that's very saccharine while dealing with the heaviest subject matter. Like, oh hey, look at all this precociousness around the horrors of World War II.
And what's fucked up is that's not even the first time somebody's done this.
No, like, it's a cottage industry.
Yeah.
Like,
you could pretty much swing a dead rat around and find a super sweet take on World War II at this point.
It's not a super sweet take. It's like your protagonist is a precocious child whose father goes off to war. Or at least co-protagonist. You do get to play as the guy as well, so less precocious there. Still, it's framed in a light art style, while giving you tips from the Battle of Britain, complete with photos.
Yeah.
Not graphic, but still, you get to see bombed out buildings.
I was about to say, wasn't that like the top 5 bloodiest battle in World War II?
I'm not sure, but it wasn't blood free.
Yeah.
Anyway, more on that on Sunday. So with that in mind, merrily we shall roll along into the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is Paul from the Phantom Fellows.
Yo, thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. We're happy to have you here. Right. So how we like to get started is we like to get to know the people behind the games and the studio and all of that business. And we begin by asking this particular question. What got you interested in video games, both on a personal and a professional level?
I guess growing up with them, playing them with my dad. That was like our thing together. He was I was born in '83, so he was pretty like cutting edge. You could maybe argue as far as home PCs are concerned. We actually had like Apple products until Windows 95 came out, and then we made the switch. But yeah, I grew up playing on the Apple IIgs and Macintosh, mostly adventure games, point and click adventure games, with my dad. And yeah, as I got older, had my own kid, kind of indoctrinated him into adventure games, basically just forced him to play them with me, whether he liked it or not. And he didn't. They're old and slow, which is fair. But he played them with me, and I was like, it'd be cool if I could make one of these, and he could grow up watching his dad, chase his dream and being creative and learning how to program and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Huh. Like, and admit that's a lot more uncommon than I would think it would be. Like getting into game dev for the sake of your kid. Like,
Right. Yeah, I guess I did.
How
go ahead.
old
Sorry.
are they now?
My son is 10 years old now. I started making Phantom Fuzz when he was 5. It was 4.5 years in development. So, yeah, so you could basically kind of grow up with me making that game, and now I'm working on the sequel to it now. So he's becoming a little bit more a part of it. He's somewhat useful in beta testing. He can at least go left where I go right and crash the game for me sometimes. But yeah, he's 10.
I'm like, well, I suppose it's good that he's able to help you out now. But
Yeah, that might be generous too. Now that I've said it out loud and heard it back, like, well, help might be a little generous, but he's more aware of what's going on, and that I've burdened him with the task of playing my 16 to 20 hour adventure game when he gets a little older, which he's, I guess, looking forward to.
I'm like, I could not make a statement towards that, but knowing how kids generally are, they either are or they aren't. Like, how do I put this? It takes a certain kind of kid to be into adventure games,
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
say Minecraft.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The adventure games are almost like the antithesis to modern entertainment in a sense, because it's like a slow saunter through the park as opposed to like TikTok attention span sort of situation. You really need some patience with adventure games, but no, but he's invested on a personal level. Like I published it myself, and the studio name is Strummer Games, and his name is Strummer. One of when the main character, there's like a flashback of the main character as a child, and it's like my kid sprite. So he's invested. Let's say he'll give it a go when he's older. Again, whether he likes it or not.
The advantages of adulthood and being a parent.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so outside of having your son do a bit of beta testing, did you develop the whole thing yourself?
I did, yeah. I did the art and the programming and the music and the writing. I came into it as a musician and somebody who really liked to write. So those were my stronger suits, but I had to learn how to program and how to pixel art along the way, which is probably why it took 4.5 years. I mean, that's arguably, for an indie game, I'm not sure that's necessarily a lot of time, but I would say if I had known how to program or do pixel art going into it, I probably could have shaved like at least a year off of that time. There's a lot of trial and error, especially on the programming side. But yeah, I did solo dev, did the whole thing myself. I couldn't have done it without my best friend Anna. I co-host an adventure game podcast with her, and she was pretty crucial too, as far as you come up with like a puzzle idea and you got to have somebody else to run it by and be like, is this crazy? Does this make any sense at all? Like, would you have ever guessed that? And does it seem fun? And then, with like big, chunky, low resolution pixel art as my game is, like I would need her sometimes to be like, hey, here's, 6 pixels. Does that look like a ketchup container like it's supposed to? So yeah, she was super crucial. But yeah, as far as all the, I guess actual hands-on stuff, I did it solo.
And I suppose before we delve deeper into game development, it might be prudent to talk about the game itself. I mean, what is the Phantom Fellows?
Right. Good call. Okay, so it's a point and click adventure game. It's like a comedy with heart, I guess you could say. Definitely. I don't know about definitely. Hopefully, it's a comedy. I kind of let everybody else tell me if they agree with that. I thought it was. It's about two best friends who start a paranormal investigation business together since one of them is already dead. And the idea is like, the main, well, there's two main characters. The alive one, I call them breathers in the game because, well, because you can't call them a human because it's like, well, the ghosts are human. It's just, so basically we got breathers and we have floaters for the alive and the dead. So the breather has like this exclusive connection with his ghost buddy, whose name is Engelbert Picklebender. And he can hear Engelbert and communicate with Engelbert, but with no other ghosts. So it's just kind of this like strange, exclusive little ethereal connection that they share. And Engelbert can see and hear and communicate with all the ghosts. So I guess you could say that the breather, the protagonist, Oliver, is kind of almost like a bridge from the living to the dead. So they get caught up for like a haunting or something's going on at the old farm down the street, and they show up. Engelbert talks to the ghost there, tells Oliver, what the ghost needs or wants for many different reasons. Sometimes the ghosts will want closure so they can move on from this world, and sometimes they'll just want like a personal possession. Sometimes they're just like the pranky, haunty type, and they need to be negotiated with, let's say, in some sense of the meaning. And that's where Engelbert tells Oliver, like, hey, here's the deal, man. This ghost wants to get his old thing back from his old place, and Oliver is alive, so he can go pick things up and interact with the physical world and try to bring peace to the dead, I guess you'd say.
Okay, that sounds like a good enough premise for a ghost story. Now, you said other people describe this as a comedy?
Yeah. I mean, it is a comedy, right? It's just a little weird to say that. It's like I feel like it's almost calling yourself funny, to be like, yeah, my game's a riot. You should check it out. It feels corny, but it is a comedy. I have witnessed plenty of streamers laughing, let's say, at it. So I think I did make a comedy in the end. It does have some heart, though. It can't be all dessert. You got to have some protein in there too, right? So there's some decent moments in there. The ghost acts as a bit of a mentor to Oliver, to the breather. So there's kind of this split relationship where the ghost, for the most part, is kind of ball breaky, older sibling kind of dynamic. But when things get real, when it gets kind of serious, as life can, then he switches to a softer, more mentor-like tone and makes it clear that he really wants to help Oliver realize his potential and become, the man he could be. And it's kind of hinted at that, maybe that's why Engelbert the ghost is sticking around. Maybe he's got unfinished business somewhat raising Oliver.
Playing a connection or something to that effect.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming this is, I guess for lack of better wording here, a proper point and click adventure game, as in you get items and you use them to solve puzzles kind of deal?
Yeah, exactly. It is almost a little bit on the old school side of adventure games, because the genre has gone it's gone a certain direction that's minimized, in my opinion, it's kind of minimized interaction a little bit in a way that I'm not crazy about, where it's like, this 1 or 2 click system where just one mouse click, sometimes 2, does everything. And so I went a little more old school with the UI design, a little more for anybody who's played like the old Sierra games. It's a little bit more like that, where you can look at everything, you can talk to everything, and you can interact with everything, and get unique responses for Oliver and Engelbert. Another reason it probably took 4.5 years, because it's like, you walk into a room and everything's a hotspot. So you've got like a door, the front door. Oliver looks at it, Oliver can interact with it, and then Engelbert can look at it, and Engelbert can interact with it. And you get 4, completely unique lines of dialogue there. And all 4 of them, I put a lot of heart into every line. Like, there is no throwaway lines. You'll never click on something and it'll be like, that's a door. Like, it's always gonna try to make you laugh. Maybe not like LOL or whatever, but at least a sharp nasal exhale, some sort of reaction out of you, I guess you could say. And every now and then, because every room has like lights, let's say, for example, whether it's on the ceiling or a wall sconce or whatever, And so, when there's like 85 rooms in your game and you've described lights through Oliver and Engelbert 4 times in each room, every now and then I would switch to like a fun fact or whatever, just to I don't know, shake it up a little bit. Like a quick example would be there's a banker's lamp in one of the rooms, like one of those lamps with the green glass over it. And one of the perks of having a ghost that died sometime in like the late 1800s is, he's been around this whole time and has witnessed things come to be, I guess you'd say. Like he was around when the banker's lamp was invented, so he just has all the weird facts for you, and he'll tell you exactly why the banker's lamp is green. So yeah, anyway, just try to shake it up a little bit. Either go for a laugh or like give somebody like a cool little party fact, straight dope sort of thing. Yeah.
And how old school is the interface and all that? As in, are you gonna have to be dealing with any pixel hunting in this game?
Hopefully not. Yeah, the goal is definitely not to. I couldn't stand pixel hunting, like in the sense of like you can't find it anywhere, and you're like clicking across the screen, spamming the screen, looking for a reaction. Like there's definitely none of that. Part of the reason I tackled that problem was making everything a hotspot. So it's like everything you click on gives you something. So if it's not what you're looking for, maybe it'll nudge you towards what you're looking for, or it'll at least make it clear right away that it's not. Interfaces, yeah, it's pretty old school. It's got like a top-down menu, where you could choose like the shoe for walk and the hand for interact and the eye for look. I also arguably over-designed it a little bit to where you can also use the keyboard instead, where you do 1, 2, 3 LIT, like look, interact, touch, and use the arrows to walk around. That's my preferred way of playing it, even though nobody plays it like that. Fair enough. But yeah, basically you got 2 options. You can play it with the keyboard, or you can play it like pure point and click, like just with the mouse. And yeah, it behaves pretty much just like an old LucasArts or Sierra game.
Sounds like it's kind of straddling the 2 eras of Sierra games, as in the newer games and the older games, like the SGI, the AGI, if you use the keyboard.
Yeah, good, really good call. You're exactly right. Yeah, because I grew up on those games. I miss when Sierra switched to SCI, to the VGA era. Like they got rid of, for the most part, they got rid of the arrow controls, and I'd missed that. That was one of the better parts of the parser game. So, yeah, you're exactly right. It kind of splits the difference. And then my game's perspective is a little unique in that it's 2D, like truly 2D. You only walk left and right, so you don't walk up and down. You're only on the, what would you say, the x-axis, I guess. Most adventure games you'd walk, up, down, left, and right. So because you only walk left and right in mine, it just seems like it lends itself really nicely to the arrows too. You don't have to do any of that awkward like up arrow, right arrow to go diagonally. There's none of that. So it's just like left key, right key, and it covers the whole thing.
And is there any sort of internal hint system?
Yeah, that's another like modern necessity, right? You don't want people to leave your game because they might not come back, and walkthroughs are a big part of adventure games, and they always have been. But ideally, you could handle everything in game. So there's an in-game hint system. It's hopefully it's pretty natural, I guess you could say. It's one of the things I'm more proud of, I guess, as far as the way it turned out, because the breather already goes to the ghost for wisdom and advice. Like it's a natural part of their conversations anyway. So it makes sense that the ghost would be able to help. And it also kind of makes sense that the ghost wouldn't necessarily tell Oliver exactly what to do, because the ghost is trying to help Oliver realize his potential. So he's, almost in a parental sense. It's like, just maybe give them a little hint here and there, as opposed to tell them exactly how to do it, or else they'll never grow or whatever. So the way I handled it was kind of like the old. Are you guys familiar at all with the universal hint system back in the day? UHS.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
It was like a website.
Yeah.
Right, and I think even before that, it came on disc, I guess, before internet days. But now it's a website, I guess you could say. And you go to UHS, and you would find where you were at in the game, and it would give you breadcrumbs. It would never tell you more than you wanted to know. So it would never kind of spoil it like a walkthrough would. So the game basically does that, where Engelbert will give you like a really loose little hint, like maybe look over there, and then you can either select tell me more or say no more. I got it from here. And the more you say tell me more, obviously he tells you more and more and more until he gives you the entire solution. But yeah, that way, you kind of still makes a winner out of the player. Like you don't get a dopamine hit from solving these puzzles unless you put a little bit of work in. So it's always rewarding watching streamers use the hint system as it was designed, where they don't just click tell me more 5 times until they get the answer. I love watching the streamers that play it where they click, they ask for one little hint, maybe 2, and then they go off on their own, and then they find it, and you hear them go, yes, you get that little dopamine surge you hear from them, like, I got the thing, and they feel proud that they figured it out. So that's like right in the pocket. That's the aim.
I guess, do you have a system that keeps track of how much people use hints? So, like, you can see, oh, this type of puzzle's really hard. People have been maxing out their hints on these ones. I probably should either update that or not use it going forward.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything like that, but I did basically handle that through painful amounts of beta testing with all my beta testers, and I had them screen record, all of their playthroughs and just watch and see where they would start to struggle. And I did find that you have to tell players more than you would think.
Yeah.
Or at least,
well, I guess it really depends on how versed in adventure games they are.
Right. Yeah. Very good point. That's a great point too. And that was another difficulty for me, was there was a lot more players that were coming into this like having never played a Sierra game, and like I kind of naively just assumed like, oh, if you're buying this game, you've totally played, a Space Quest or something. But no, I would say the vast majority of players never played the old school games. There's a few Easter eggs and like a few jokes that really hinge on you knowing some of the older games, and man, they fall painfully flat for the players that didn't know them. I noted that for the next game. I'm like, all right, probably don't do any more of those. There was just like crickets on the air sometimes. I'm like, but if you played the game, you would have got it. Okay, yeah. Never mind.
You have external research to do after you're done here.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. And I did do a lot of updates those first few months that the game came out, because I would watch most of the streams of people playing it. And I would see where they were struggling and go in and make little adjustments and add more hints and things like that to where I haven't had to touch it in a while now. So I think I found the sweet spot for the next game.
It's definitely one of the things that's nice about the modern, I guess, apparatus, is either you can put something in the game or just watch streamers and be like, oh, this is a problem. Back in the day, like Sierra had to wait till magazines came out, get a whole bunch of different game magazines and look at their reviews like, oh, this was a problem. Okay.
Right.
But you can get your feedback in a matter of hours, where Sierra, it could have took months.
Yeah, that's a great point. And when they patched a game, they had to send a floppy disk out in the mail, or you'd have to go to Babbage's or something and request the floppy disk, or check in and see if there was one and pray that there was, because you've got some problem that you can't get through. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're following the hints, and then you realize something's not lining up. It's like, oh, there must be a patch.
Right. Yes, exactly. What was there was one error with Sierra all the time. I think it was like out of memory, some sort of memory leak, error 47, something like that. It used to always pop up, and then you knew you were in trouble.
Right.
Anyway, so another thing I want to ask about is the day mechanic, if it is indeed a mechanic. Like, you got your blurb here, 7 playable days. Now, is that just like a frame of time, or is it like, are you going through a day in real time and you have a limited amount of time to do your goals?
Right. So I guess what's the cleanest way to say it? Each day is basically a case. So there's kind of 7 cases that you work. at the beginning, it's I explained kind of the dynamic between Engelbert and Oliver, the breather and the ghost. So like that's like the gist, but then each day is where you get the actual stories. So there's basically 7 stories, I guess you could say. Each day is a case. Each case is its own little, micro story or whatever. And there is an overarching story that starts to develop around like day 3 or day 4 that comes to a conclusion in day 7. So essentially the thinking was, I just really liked adventure games that had this day by day or case by case basis, and I feel like it does work a little bit towards the modern attention span issue that adventure games are up against more than probably any other genre. But having knowing that in this experience you're going to get to experience 7 different cases, that's 7 different breathers that hire you and 7 different ghosts or more with their problems, and you never get too deep. Maybe 2-3 hours for a day, and then you get to do a whole new thing with new environment and things like that. So, and then I feel like if the days don't connect and go somewhere, then it can feel a little empty. So therefore, I came up with like an overarching story that kind of weaves the days together and makes little things make sense here and there. And then day 7 is like the showdown between the overarching story that's been going on, or the culmination of it, I guess. So that was the way I handled that. And then the other thing I did with the days, which I think was fun and a little bit unique, I guess, for adventure games, was I wanted each day, I wanted you to be able to revisit previous locations. So it's like, if it, it's a good way to explain this. In adventure games, there's this thing where like a lot of times you'll need something that you saw earlier in the game, and the game plays dumb. And it's just like, but if I could just go back to the office from like a few hours ago and just get the stapler, like we'd be out of here.
If only you hadn't shut all of the doors behind me, then I would be totally fine right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just it ignores this elephant in the room. Like I just saw the thing that I need right now. Why can't I just go get it? So I decided to handle it in the sense where it's like, okay, you can go back to any previous location, and that's also where I handled like alternate puzzle solutions. So it's like you never have to leave where you're at. You can always stay, and I think players kind of need to know that, or it becomes overwhelming because all of a sudden it's like, well, now there's this whole world to travel in, and it starts to feel needle in the haystack. So I'm like, you can always solve the case by just staying right where you are. Everything you need is on location. But if you need a hammer and you saw a hammer a few days ago, you could just go get it, and it will work. So that's how I handle that. And I think it also makes it feel fun. It gives it this kind of open world sort of feel. And, some of the ghosts that don't, let's say, find their eternal rest when you're done the case, they decide to stick around for one reason or another. You can go back and have a chat with them, and they're self-aware as to having seen you the day or two before that, and they got jokes, hopefully, and yeah, just I think it makes it a little more fun, especially if players are grinding away on like a part of the day or the case, and I don't know. I encourage people to just kind of go explore around, take a break, take a breather, go take a drive to the diner and see what's going on there, and find a laugh, and then get back to it.
And what's the supporting cast like, if there is indeed one to speak of? That is to say, are there characters other than our 2 leads that show up in each day, or is it like meeting a whole bunch of different people every day?
Yeah, you get a whole different cast for each day. So basically, there's the person who hires you. So there'll be like the breather who runs the museum or lives at the farm that has the problem. So they call you out there, and you start a little relationship with them. They tell you what's going on. You investigate. You can check in with them throughout the day and bring them things and show them things and things like that for leads and ideas. So yeah, each day gives you a new breather, and then at least one new ghost. I think 2 of the days have multiple ghosts, but here nor there. Yeah, you get a fresh ghost and a fresh breather for each day, and then again, you can always go back to previous days and check in on people and see what's up with them, and find some jokes. I like the idea of running jokes. Like for some reason, the cook at the diner just like hates Oliver. And he kind of there's little hints as to why and things like that, but it's just kind of fun to check in every day, and with with these different dynamics, where like the cook really hates you, and one of the ghosts is like really inappropriate towards Oliver. She's just like attracted to him because his body works, like for no other reason that he has like a pulse, and that like that's hot. So uh, things like that hopefully make it kind of fun to revisit.
Okay. And switching back to the development side of things for a bit here, was your game coded in Unity, or are you using the adventure game engine?
Yeah, I'm using Adventure Game Studio, AGS,
That
old school.
that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, it's I was a fan of AGS before anything else. I just really liked their games. I would go check their website like once a month and see what was coming out. And yeah, I'm a sucker for old school adventure games, especially if they're pixel art. So AGS was kind of perfect. I mean, as somebody who didn't have any programming knowledge going into this, it was probably foolish because I could have used like Visionaire or Adventure Game Maker for Unity, that all have user interfaces and things like that. Whereas AGS it's pretty much just like code. I mean, it's very much just brackets and functions and stuff like that. But I'm glad I did because it's fun, and I don't have like a programmer's brain, I guess you could say. Like I'm definitely more like the artsy type, but there's a lot more creativity behind programming than I thought there was. It's really kind of satisfying. It's like you I don't know, you start out like in the desert with like a blinking mouse cursor, and then you make this whole thing come to life just with if and else. So it's rewarding. It's not fun. It's definitely not fun, but it is fulfilling.
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Thank you.
Like, but how do I frame this? Um, you already said what you would do differently, but I suppose um, the question I'm trying to get here is kind of hard because it's talking about what you're working on now, and that's always a bit difficult. But I suppose on the game dev side, we don't have to worry about spoilers. Um, but it's like, what are you doing now that you have learned along the way?
Right. Ah, goodness, quite a bit. Maybe one of the bigger lessons learned from the first game was especially writing a comedy, was to learn that I need to I shouldn't always go for the laugh. Like sometimes you just have to deliver clear information to the player. And there's almost a time and a place sort of thing, and I started catching on to that in the first game, but a little bit second half of the first game, let's say, but now it's like I truly understand, like, okay, this moment right here is don't even try. There's nothing cute, there's nothing cheeky, there's nothing whatever. Just tell them what they need to do right now. I mean, obviously, under the guys or with the voicing of the characters and stuff like that. But yeah, one of the lessons learned, let's say, is to know when to clearly communicate objectives to the players, and not to go for a laugh. That would be a pretty big lesson learned, and also just to remember that no matter how easy I think something is, it's just infinitely harder for somebody who's not me. So see, I might think a puzzle's on the easier side, and it's like pretty tough puzzle. And if I think it's really, really easy, then it's like a good puzzle. Like that's right where they want it, is where I think it's maybe too easy. Yeah. Those are some of the things I've taken with me.
So we are running low on time here, so just a couple more questions. In terms of the first game, how well did it do?
It's done okay. Yeah, it's done okay. It's not it didn't live up to the grand aspirations that I had for it, let's say. Whether that was ever possible, I'm not really sure. But I know that it's doing better than average, I guess you could say. So that's encouraging. All the reviews are really, really good. So that's arguably the most important thing. It's also very much not the most important thing. Sometimes most important thing is sales, but seeing the reviews being really positive, like the game has some hardcore, I don't know. Again, it feels weird to say it like this, but the fans, I guess you'd say, like the getting these like gigantic glowing reviews or even short ones like this is the best written game and it needs to be a TV show or things like that will stick with you. Anytime you see the sales and they're bumming you out, you'd remember some of these reviews and it's like, hey man, this was a few people's favorite game last year, let's say. So like things like that go a really long way. And yeah, it's doing okay. So enough so to tentatively step into making the second one. Well, that's not accurate. I mean, I've dove all in on making the next one because that's kind of the only choice you have is like do it or don't. But yeah, it's done okay. Another way I could maybe say that is the first game ends on a cliffhanger, and what I've done for the next game is I've decided to slightly remarket it a little bit with it's gonna have its own name, and then it's gonna be a Phantom Fellows adventure, as opposed to trying to sell it as the Phantom Fellows 2. And I feel like that kind of speaks volumes as to what I'm getting at too, where it's just like, yeah, if it crushed it, like I would just be doing Phantom Fellows 2. But because it didn't, like I'm approaching it in that different angle, and then when the second game starts, it's going to ask you, is this your first Phantom Fellows adventure? And if you played the first one, then you'll start right where the first one left off, and if you haven't, then you're going to start in a rewritten, tweaked version of the first game's last day. That way, they know what's going on, right? I can't start them halfway through a cliffhanger. So basically, I'll bring them back a whole day so they can play, up to the cliffhanger part and on through it.
And I guess my final question is, how far along is are you going to call it the Phantom Fellows 2?
No, it's going to have a name. I'm going to call it Phenomaly, a Phantom Fellows adventure. So it's essentially going to be, Phenomaly is going to be,
Honestly, I think while there's something to be said for simply numbered sequels, I think also we're getting a little bit. We could use more like things that actually have different names these days.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I completely agree. It's like I don't know. There's almost like a little bit of like not reading the room on my end if I named it Phantom Fellows 2, or I don't want to say hubris, but it's like it didn't quite earn the notoriety to be like the second one of that first one that everyone loved. Like no, it did okay, but it's definitely if people see Phantom Fellows 2, the big I didn't play the first one, I'm good. So remarketing is just Phenomaly, mixture of what phenomenon and anomaly, Phenomaly, and then in the small font it'll say a Phantom Fellows adventure, and that way it'll be welcoming to people who, if you have no idea about the Phantom Fellows 1, then you might just stumble across this and want to play it because it looks like a cool ghost game, and when you open it up and it says, is this your first Phantom Fellows adventure? You click, no, yes, it is. And the game kind of knows what to do from there.
All right. So I think I've asked all my questions. I'll see if my colleagues here have anything further for you.
I think I'm good.
I believe I am satisfied as well.
Yeah, very good. Right. So, yeah, I want to thank you, Paul, for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here today to talk about your game. It was a lovely conversation.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Indeed. Well, hopefully things go smoothly and don't take up half a decade for for your next title. Anyway, so the game is The Phantom Fellows. It's currently available now on Steam and GOG for $14.99 USD. So be sure to go pick it up today. Petty, play us to the next segment. Okay, so welcome to the topic of discussion. And today's topic may span two parts, depending on how I'm feeling or how things play out, because we are talking about Deus Ex today. And if you know anything about Deus Ex, and even if you don't, Deus Ex is a game that contains so much to talk about. We could, or at least I could, legitimately be here for hours
We will
and
have to
just
pull out
be
the
through
ball
the
gag at some point.
surface. Like, and in so many directions as well, because Deus Ex is renowned for a game, plotting, characterization, mechanics, just role playing, a whole lot of things rolled out into what some consider to be literally the best game of all time. And to cover all of that, because this isn't like, not to say that, say, Super Mario Brothers or Pac-Man are simple games. There's actually quite a bit going under the hood, but on the surface level, they're pretty simple. Deus Ex is kind of the diametric opposite. It's right up there with, say, System Shock 2, or, insert other role-playing game here, unless you're going back to, like, the core founding, talking about Wizardry or the Black Onyx, where, it's a simple game that was revolutionary simply because it was the first thing to ever do these things.
Yeah. It's another one of those games where the world exists without you.
Definitely. But Deus Ex is also very massively impacted by its protagonist.
Well, I mean, it can be impacted, but the Deus Ex universe would still exist without him.
Well, that's especially true because we've gotten further Deus Ex games.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, more Deus Ex material. But to say that J.C. Denton doesn't have a huge impact on the world, well, that tells me that you haven't actually played Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Oh
no, he very much does have a huge impact.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's kind of tied into one of the few overtly religious angles, or at least what's purported to be a religious allegory.
Yeah.
J.C. Denton, Jesus Christ. I'm not sure how much of that is intentional or
I was about
not.
to say, has that word of dev been confirmed, or is that just tongue in cheek?
That's the thing. I don't know.
I mean, tongue in cheek would still be canon. The question is whether or not it was intentional or just they had something else in mind.
But I'm gonna note, nobody talks about that. Nobody really cares if J.C. Denton is a Christ-like figure, because that's not what the game is trying to be about. It's about many things, but religion, not really, except through the lens of conspiracy.
Oh God, yes.
Because not so much in the original Deus Ex, but definitely in Deus Ex Invisible War, that comes up. Try to guess what organization comes up with that. Hint, Dan Brown wrote quite a bit about him. The answer is the Knights Templar, because of course it's the Knights Templar.
It's either the Knights Templar or the Illuminati.
Well, the Illuminati, they're not explicitly religious, Unless you want to get into the Freemasonry aspect of the whole
Yeah.
thing, which is kind of quasi-religion, like,
That one
but it's
involves more alcohol than I feel I can stand.
it's definitely a lot less religiously connected to the very overtly in real life Catholic Order of the Knights Templar.
Fair.
I'm like, also worth noting, this game also mentions another famous knightly order that isn't really all that connected to conspiracies. Not as strongly as the Knights Templar. That's the Knights Hospitaller. They're the ones who became the Knights of Malta. By the way, once again, they do kind of show up in conspiracies, but way less than the Knights Templar.
Yeah, they're the so you were paying attention in history class bring up.
Yeah. But like I said, just on the conspiracy front, I could be here a very long time going through all of the conspiracies that this game goes through. You know, some of them are, as noted by a lot of YouTubers, essayists, and etc., very relevant, maybe more relevant today than the year it came out in 2000. Some are still very much connected to the 90s, specifically. Like a lot of the most popular conspiracy theories of the 90s involved what they call UFOlogy, which makes sense because, what was one of the hottest shows of that decade? The X-Files. And the X-Files drew upon that same tapestry. Stuff like the Men in Black, Black Helicopters, the Greys, government suppression of the existence of UFOs. Now, that's all in here, but once again, that's actually kind of a secondary conspiracy story than, the main conspiracies. As in, you got the Greys, you've got Area 51, but they're not the focus. They're not about, this game isn't about the government suppressing the existence of aliens. Honestly, Perfect Dark was more about that than Deus Ex was. No, the conspiracy theories that are most cognizant to today's world and the ones that have the most disturbing connotations are stuff like the UN being involved in a global conspiracy. Some would say globalist, but no. Like, the thing about Deus Ex conspiracies is, thankfully, as much as possible, like they're not anti-Semitic conspiracies. I'm not saying that these conspiracies themselves were not born from anti-Semitism, like the whole UN being controlled by a global cabal. That's usually Jewish. But here, we got a shadowy cabal, but because this is a fantasy game, they both actually exist, and we get to meet some of the conspirators. And they're actually, the people what engage in conspiracies and manipulate reality in the real world. Rich white people. Like, they don't even have to go into the shadows to do that. They just, kind of do it and nobody cares. Or if they do care, there's not much they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, the UN in reality, very much doesn't control the world or is controlled by the New World Order. Like, but believe me, the UN has actually very little power.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did, how do I put this? Like, Israel wouldn't be as unchained as it is right now.
Israel, Russia, the list would literally
Yeah.
go on for miles.
Yeah, to say like the UN influencing U.S. politics, that's been a right-wing fever dream for literal decades.
Yeah,
But
literally since the founding.
possibly, but certainly by the time Reagan got elected. Yeah, but probably the most disturbing conspiracy theory, at least in my estimation, is the gray death, which is an artificial virus that is put out by the government to control the population, and they also control the vaccine. Yeah, does that hit harder in 2025?
Yeah.
Though probably not as hard as it hit in 2020.
Yeah.
Though it might depend on your persuasion and where you're looking, because honestly, it's less concerned about COVID these days and just, general anti-vaxxers are now in charge of the government. And that's fucking bad. That is
Bring
really
measles
bad.
back again. I'm going to start drinking bleach. Bye.
Recommended.
Anti-science in general.
Yes. I'm like, like I said, that's one of the big ones that is cited as making people feel uncomfortable these days. And it's not that Deus Ex managed to predict this. It's more getting the anti-science bent correct.
Well, and like viruses that can kill off populations has not been something new in media.
No, but it being genetically engineered,
Yeah.
that is definitely an actual conspiracy theory. The lab leak conspiracy theory
Yep.
that was going on around. But like I said, that's just another one of many conspiracy theories. There's the government runs a large scale surveillance program, which once again is less of a conspiracy and what we call the NSA.
Yeah.
But that's a conspiracy that hit much harder about 10, 15 years ago when, like Julia Assange and Edward Snowden leaked all this information about the NSA spying program.
Yeah. Specifically spying on U.S. citizens.
Right.
Like, we've known that the NSA existed for a long-ass time, but they were desperately trying to cover up that they were spying on U.S. people.
Yeah. And some of them are more generic. Like, a terrorist attack is a false flag. Once again, that's all the way back to Reichstag.
Yeah.
To them implementing the main bad guy is not the Illuminati, but the Majestic 12, which is another real-life conspiracy theory, but a much more obscure one. Because, when people bring up conspiracy theories, jokingly or not, one of the cliched answers is the Illuminati's behind everything. Like, when was the last time, or when did you ever hear about the Majestic 12?
It was probably the mid-2000s.
Yeah, you probably heard it in this game.
Yeah.
Mainly because the Majestic 12, they come from the UFO sector again.
Yeah, and UFOs haven't really been big since the mid-2000s.
Funny
they
how
still
as the
exist.
quality of cameras and
Yeah,
speed of
yeah.
film development got faster, there started being less and less evidence of UFOs.
Yeah. But like the Majestic 12 in real life conspiracy terms, they're the ones who are actually doing the suppressing of governmental information about the UFOs existing. Like they're the actual people who are doing this by, according to Wikipedia, executive order by U.S. President Harry S. Truman. In the Deus Ex game, they are the shadow organization headed by Bob Page that took over from the Illuminati, the shadow organs of the world order. They are literally the New World Order, if you will. Yet they never made that connection.
I wanted to make a joke about wrestling because I remember there was a New World Order wrestling thing, but now none of the names are coming to brain and it hurts.
Yep. So, that may have been why they didn't go that direction. Because especially like in the year 2000, the New World Order would have been much more well known as the wrestling faction than conspiracy theory. Like, and this is just one aspect of Deus Ex. We've gone on for about 20 minutes just about the amount of conspiracy bullshit that this game pulled from in the year 2000/1999. The years of development,
right?
Which does not include the World Trade Center. That was due to memory limitations, and they said it was destroyed by terrorists. It's less that they predicted 9/11, and it's more that they remembered 1993.
Yeah.
The World Trade Center got bombed in 93. That gets forgotten because that was the unsuccessful. It did damage, but it killed people, but it didn't bring down the towers like 9/11 did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did damage, but not like a lot.
And it was repaired in like 6 months, if that.
It was. They referenced it in the movie The Siege because they had a van. They had a van full of manure and diesel fuel drive through it like the Oklahoma City bombing, which was what they attempted to do with the World Trade Center.
Oh boy, it looks like we're getting short on time here. So
yeah,
we'll wrap this up until next week. And indeed, that'll bring us to the end of another episode of Fragments of Silicon. So coming up on the week ahead. As you'll note here, we've got a new episode of MSP happening. Once again, it's in its new location in about 15-ish minutes, let's say. Coming up on Friday, October 10th, we'll be having Jack Daniels, yes, that is his real name, of Lasso Games on the program. We'll be talking about his game Super Highway Rampage. And on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Letters of Ward. Maybe Build a Bridge. We'll see how Petty's eyes work out during the week. Plan B Terraform. And Jamboy, a Jellylicious Hero. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.
All right, I have switched over to post-show while I get MSP ready.
All right, I've got the rage command on my phone. I should have mod powers as Mac Paladin, just not as MS Presents.
Yeah,
yet.
we need to give MS Presents mod rights.
Yep.
Uh,
Just let me know when we've switched over so I can hit the raid button.
All right.
There's only 2, but it's worth, it counts. 2 or more, it counts.
I gotta take care of something quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right.
After we raid over, I am going to need to switch laundry. Season 20, right?
Correct. Yep. I think we're on episode 14 now.
Yeah.
I think we're actually lined up with Fragments for once.
Yeah, cool, because we didn't have to take any days off yet.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And we have roughly the same days off for Thanksgiving and all that, so.
Yeah.
All right, just give me the word.
Hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Just chatting category. All right, update that.
I've also cleaned up the recommended channels. I don't know if you noticed that on my personal channel.
I have not even looked. All right, Fragments peeps. I am killing the stream, and we are raiding over MS
Raping?
Present. I said raiding.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're switching over.
I can't do it. I can't do it. It won't let me.
Well, I'm not live yet, so I need to kill this before I have MS go live. So hold tight. You're going to get your raid in a second.